Hello guys, in this video we will talk about upgrading of solar systems because this is really an important topic in itself and definitely worth a video to talk only about this. First I want to actually start about talking about our thinking about upgrading of electrical appliances in general because when we buy equipment for the kitchen, for example a fridge, a coffee machine, or even a car, any electrical appliance, in most cases you cannot upgrade it very easily in terms of size, in terms of capabilities, and things like that. There are a few exceptions, not many though. One exceptions are computers, where you can expand and you can add the equipment and stuff like that. But even there are severe limitations in that, for example, if you change the motherboard, yeah, you can do that, but then in essence you are making a new computer. So also computers are severely limited by the initial equipment that you start with, and it's the same with solar. It's the same with all electrical appliances. So when you do your initial purchase, you really should make a plan regarding what your goals are for the future also, and try to think about how these goals might change, how your needs might change. I understand this is sometimes not easy because sometimes the world changes. For example, with EVs, I mean, just a few years ago there was not many people that could imagine that electrical vehicles would be a normal occurrence in the world, but now they are. And they are certainly a very important factor when we determine the size of systems, solar systems. So I can certainly understand that the needs do change, but at the same time, we should try to plan when we design a system, and also when we think about what we're going to use the system for, and try to think about what we're going to do for the future, not only what we're doing right now. The reason for that is basically that the equipment, like I've said, electrical appliances equipment, they are not easy to expand. But you can expand them and expand systems, but in roundabout ways. So for example, if you want to increase the size of your solar system, you can add another inverter. Now, it would be much cheaper if you had bought the bigger inverter in the first place. You will save on both inverter cost and installation cost and everything. But it is possible. You can still do it. But there's no way of, if you have a 5 kilowatt inverter, you want to increase the size of it to 10 kilowatt, there's no way of going inside that inverter, changing a chip, and then voila, you have 10 kilowatt. No, you can't do that. It's not possible. And that's normal for all electrical appliances, that you have limitations, that you cannot go outside. Okay, so let's take a look at some different equipment that we like to use and see what are the limitations. First example I have here is the growatt on-grid inverter. On-grid just means that it's working together with the grid, and it does not have batteries, as opposed to hybrid when you have batteries. Hybrid also means that you are working with the grid. It just means that you have batteries in addition. But this inverter does not have batteries, and you cannot add batteries in the future. This is a basic ability of this inverter, that you cannot add. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad inverter, because obviously it's a balance between cost and capabilities. So for this one, growatt has chosen to not have it battery ready, as we say, but that also reduces the complexity inside, and probably makes it more stable, and also of course cheaper to make. So there are some pros and cons of everything, and in this case you cannot add much, and you certainly cannot make it bigger by changing something inside. But that's common with all inverters. There are no inverters that I know of that you can increase the size by changing something about that inverter itself, unfortunately. Well, it's normal, but anyway. Okay, let's move on. Huawei. Some of the Huawei older models you cannot add batteries, but some of them, let's say from 2 years ago and moving forward, you can actually add batteries. So that's what we call battery ready here. Okay. Does that mean that it's comparable to the best hybrid systems, the best battery systems? No, not at all. Why is that? Well, one reason is because the UPS of the Huawei is not the real UPS. There's not a seamless transition from when the power cut happens to when you are on battery. So it's not a true UPS, it's what we call EPS. So if it's important to you that when there is a power cut that you have a seamless transition to batteries, meaning most of the time your PC or TV will not shut off, if that's important, then you should not go for this solution at all. But it's an okay solution if what you want to do is store energy from daytime and use in nighttime. It's able to do that if you add. But compared to, for example, Alpha and the best hybrid systems, this is not comparable at all. So that's the limitation of the Huawei. Let's move on. Smile. This is the best hybrid system available in Thailand, in my opinion. Hybrid, as I said, just means systems with batteries. Now, I mentioned this here because you can actually install Alpha without batteries. So let's say that a customer says to me like, I don't really want batteries now, but I want the ability to add batteries later in a proper, nice hybrid system. Okay, but then you should install Smile 5, for example, without batteries, battery ready. You can use that until you are ready to buy batteries. This is a good way of doing it, and then it also means that you're actually planning ahead what your goals are down the line, and you are able to get the best options available in every way. So Smile can be installed without batteries, no problem, and you can add later on. When you plan for upgrading of hybrid systems, it's important to understand that when you make a decision on the battery size, for example 5 kilowatt hour or 10 kilowatt hour, you cannot change that after. So that means that if you start with 5 kilowatt hour, you have to continue with that size, meaning 5 kilowatt hour, 5 kilowatt hour, 5 kilowatt hour, for example, makes 15. But if you change, if you make a decision from the beginning to go with a 10 kilowatt hour battery, you must add only that later. You cannot start with a 10 kilowatt hour and then add a 5 kilowatt hour. This is how battery technologies work. It's not something about Alpha, it's all batteries work like this. Of course, in the future that might change, who knows, but as of now, that's how it is. You have to make a plan based on that. So, moving on. Now, let's say that you have a 3 kilowatt system and you have panels on the roof, you have an inverter in your, let's say, storage room, and you want to upgrade. Can you reuse the panels? Yes. On all systems, you can reuse the panels. However, if you want to expand the size of your system, you cannot mix and match all kinds of panels in one string. One string is a number of panels that works together and are inputted into the inverter together. That's what we call one string. You cannot mix and match different panels in one string. So let's say you have a 3 kilowatt system. How then would you expand? Well, one option would be to put all the old panels on one string and then the new panels on another string. So what would then earlier previously be two strings of old panels you will put together on one new string and then make another string with new panels. That would be a good option. Instead of mixing and matching, you get into a lot of technological problems when you start mixing and matching stuff. One example is if you put on new panels with old panels, the new panels will work in the amp of the old panels, meaning that the capability will not be according to the spec of the new panel, but according to the spec of the old panel. We have another video about this topic, only this topic, so you can search for that in the group or on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel that most of you know. If you haven't seen it, just go to YouTube and search for Shawiwan Group. You will find it. And there is a video about how to mix and match and how to upgrade panels themselves. So then you're always able to use the old panels, certainly. But the only way then for a customer who has 3 kilowatt to go to 5 kilowatt is to, well, he can add the 5 kilowatt and make that work with the 3 kilowatt. That's possible in most cases. But you cannot change the 3 kilowatt inverter and make it into a 5 kilowatt, the same physical entity. That's not possible. You have to add or change. Basically take the 3 kilowatt out and put in the 5 kilowatt. That's another option. Now obviously then you're getting into the disadvantages of doing it that way. So there is some inflexibility when you want to upgrade solar systems. But as I said in the beginning, that's not something that's specific about solar systems. Every technology is like that, and all electrical appliances have severe limitations in upgrading. And if you make a plan from the start, you can have better possibilities later on when you want to expand. And if not, we can certainly help you anyway. It's just that the cost will be higher, unfortunately, just because we have to work around the limitations of the equipment to expand. So I hope this video helped and makes it a little bit easier for you to make a plan so that you can have a solar system that you will be happy with over a long time. I think my general advice is to make a system that's bigger than what you think that you need at that specific point in time. That's probably the best advice I can make, and that's not based on me wanting customers to install bigger systems, not at all. It's just the way that things go. People use more electricity over time, and you know, new appliances come that uses electricity that didn't use electricity before. It's just the way of the world that we use more electricity. But obviously, with solar technology, we're able to move that to a greener technology, and in that way, it's a great way of doing things. Okay, guys, I hope this video helps.